All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Week number 16 in the NFL. In today's video, we're going to dive into the Saturday as well as the Sunday games here. Happy holiday season to everyone, by the way. And yeah, very excited to dive into these games like we always do. We're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about the games, but all of my final plays. So if you do want to fade my picks, those plays are going to be in the pinned comment, always updated before game time with plenty of time in advance. But before we get into the picks, guys, go and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You guys are absolutely crushing it. We're almost at 45,000 subscribers. And there's been a few videos in the past year that I'm like, oh, we're almost at X number, right? And by the time that video gets scheduled and posts, we're already past that number. So you guys have been absolutely electric. Cannot thank you guys enough. Seriously, I mean that sincerely. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. And yeah, let's dive into game number one here. It's an interesting one. We got Pittsburgh taking on Cincinnati. Pittsburgh, I mean, pretty much, no chance to make the playoffs. I think that technically speaking, like there's a sliver of a chance, but probability-wise, I think I saw it earlier, it was like 5%, right? Whereas Cincinnati here sitting at a 50-50 shot right now. If they win this game, does a lot for them for sure. Will bump their probability up to, the high 60s, which is really interesting. But the counter that I have to that, because my immediate thought is, well, Cincinnati's playing better football, right? They've won 3 straight games, 2-0-1 against the spread in their last 3, whereas Pittsburgh's lost 3 straight games. They haven't looked good whatsoever. They're 0-3 against the spread in their last 3. The quarterback situation is an absolute dumpster fire. I think Minka Fitzpatrick's out on Sunday. Like, there's a lot going on with this Pittsburgh team. But again, the counter to all of that is the spread is just at 3. And in fact, I think I've seen it at 2.5 on some books. That's a little weird to me, so I will lean Cincinnati because right now I think they're the better football team. And I should note, Jamar Chase is already ruled out with his shoulder. He left last game with his shoulder, so fine, that could be a huge difference maker here. But I do think that I lean Cincinnati with sort of the trap spotter hat on. Like, I think this could be some sort of a trap game, just reading into that line, because again, the way these two teams are playing in different trajectories here, I'm kind of shocked that it's only a 3/2.5 point spread. But I just can't ignore that Cincinnati is a better football team and Pittsburgh has their issues, right? So I'm going to lean towards Cincinnati here. In terms of the total, I don't mind looking at the over. Cincinnati's offense has been playing pretty good football. Like their last few games, Browning coming in, right? I would say the last 3, right? So ever since his MVP-esque performance against the Jaguars here, 34, 34, and 27 points have been scored by this Cincinnati team. Now Pittsburgh, you're like, oh, well, that's a really good defense. Not so fast. Their last 3 games, 24 points allowed, 21 points allowed, 30 points to the Colts last week. Like, that's too much for me. And obviously, like I said, they have some injuries they're dealing with. So I'll lean towards the over here. I like the over more than I do probably anything in this game. I think there's a chance for some rain at some point. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, guys, this is kind of a meh type of a game. But that line smells a little bit like a trap. Next up, we have the Chargers taking on Buffalo. Big point spread here. Now, I will obviously admit that, Buffalo's starting to play better. They're looking good. Huge win against Dallas. We were all over that in last week's video. But 12 points is a lot, and I don't think that they're totally proven yet for that. And say what you want about the Chargers and the disarray and all that. Like, teams that get rid of their GM and fire their coach and all that, sometimes they bounce back that next week. In fact, I'd be willing to bet that, which we are doing, that happens more often than not. So I think 12.5 is just a little bit too much. We'll watch this line because I'd love to see this move up. Right now, the public 53% is on Buffalo. I don't think it's going to be enough to move the line. But the sharp money here, 80% is on the Chargers. So maybe we want to get that before it even goes down because, again, I like Buffalo to win this game. I think they win it by a touchdown or more. But 12.5 is asking for a lot for a team that has been inconsistent. And this Buffalo team just 2-4 on the road this season. So we shall see here. Again, this is coming down to the numbers. Actually, both these games so far, like, I like the team that I like, but the numbers may say something else. So I'm going to lean Chargers plus the 12.5 points. Could be a psycho alert alarm worthy type pick there because, again, they could get smoked. We saw what did they score? 63 points the Raiders dropped on them, right? Right? So it's like, yikes. They 3 times, it was 63-21. They 3 times their score. So can Buffalo do that? Probably. But I just think it's too many points, and the team might galvanize over the recent changes here. Total sitting at 44. I think this one goes up and over. If this is at all a game that stays within 10 points, kind of like I'm thinking, then this should be an over. You've got good weather in LA, obviously. The Bills offense starting to look like something fairly well. They've scored 30 plus points in 3 of their last 4 weeks. I think that this could be a good spot for them. And obviously we know that Chargers defense is like Swiss cheese, right? So I'll take the over 44. I'm actually kind of surprised it is that low, and I believe it's moving down as well. It opened up at, let's see if we got it here. It opened up at 40, it moved up to 43 more recently, and now it moved down to 42, moved up to 44, back down to 42 and a half. So kind of interesting there to see some things moving around. So keep an eye on that and make sure you guys are getting the best odds. And what a transition. Speaking of getting the best odds, guys, make sure you go ahead and check out OddsJam. We do have a link in the pinned comment for that. You get 7 days free with that link, and if you use code GUYBOSTON, you get 25% off your first month. Super cool tool. I'm on the sportsbook screen right now. Literally compares every sportsbook out there and the odds they're offering on a particular thing, as well as the line. I say particular thing, a particular bet or line, as well as, you know, the line here. So if we look at this Bills here, the total 43.5 is the best in terms of looking at the over. If you like the under on win, you can actually get 44.5 right now. It also gives you the average odds, so you know whichever sportsbook you're on, how it compares to average odds to make sure you're getting the best prices out there. Again, guys, that link is in the pinned comment. An amazing tool. I don't push anything on this channel that I don't use myself pretty much every damn near day, and OddsJam is a massive tool, and that is just one tool within the greater overarching platform that is OddsJam. So use that code GUYBOSTON. Get 25% off your first month. You also get 7 days free when signing up. So go ahead and check that out. Now, let's go ahead and get back to the rest of the slate. All right, Atlanta's hosting Indianapolis here. This one really doesn't do it for me, but the Colts could be in a decent spot. If they win this game, it could mean a lot for their playoff implications. So I guess you gotta look at the Colts. They're probably gonna come into this carrying a little bit more. It sucks if you guys tuned into H2H. Tasso's forced me to pick Atlanta here with the fade me round, so now I'm gonna be talking out both sides of my mouth, but I'm not that confident in Indianapolis either, you know what I mean? So it's like, the playoff implications are what are getting me here, but the fact that they're underdogs is kind of like, what's going on there, right? So like, does Vegas love Atlanta in this spot? Maybe, because that's what the line's telling us right now. This is an Atlanta team that's 4-3 at home this year, which, you know, most of their wins, they only have 6 wins on the year, 4 have come at home. But that being said, Indianapolis 4-2 on the road. I don't know if I keep saying Indiana, by the way. We just recorded the NBA videos, and maybe my mind's NBA driven. But Indianapolis, apologies if we're watching that. But you guys, if you made it this far in the video, comment Indianapolis or comment Indiana. Whatever you want to comment, let me know that you're watching at this point in the video. But I'll lean towards them in this spot just because I do think that, you know, they might have a little bit more gusto for this game, trying to get into the playoffs here. In terms of a total, this one's tough to peg. I'm gonna lean under. Based on what we've seen from the Colts, it's an erratic, offense, right? Like sporadic, or whatever word I'm trying to use. All over the place, inconsistent. They scored 14 points against Cincinnati. Then they go to Pittsburgh, who arguably should be a better defense, right? And drop 30 on them. A few weeks ago, they scored 10 against New England, and they followed up that by scoring 27 and then 31 against the Bucks and Tennessee. Like, this offense is all over the place. Atlanta's been playing in some damn slow games. 2 out of their last 3 games have barely reached 20 points. In fact, one of them didn't even reach 20 points last week. So if this is going to be a game which Vegas is predicting Atlanta is the favorite, they might dictate the pace and how much time's coming off the clock. I'll lean towards the under 44.5 here, but again, not very consistent on either side here for either team. So it's kind of like, well, this could easily be a smash of this over, or it could be a 7-9 type of game, but I'll lean towards the under ever so slightly. Carolina hosting Green Bay. I mean, you just got to fade Carolina, right? It's kind of been the ritual of this show. Like, if anyone's leaning towards Carolina, it's kind of like, what are we doing here? Especially, you know, given the fact that they're coming off of a win against the team we just talked about, Atlanta. Carolina doesn't win 2 games in a row. Like, I'm surprised they've won 2 games this season, right? They won against the, who'd they beat? They beat Houston, right? 15-13. They then lost the next week, 27-13. Green Bay, they had their little hot streak, but they've been on a little bit of a slump here. They lost to the Giants in that heroic sort of primetime end-of-game drive by DeVito. Then they lose to Tampa Bay, who looked very good. But this should be a bounce-back spot for them. Like, Carolina stinks, so I'll lean towards Green Bay. It's actually 4.5 on most sports books now, so minus 4.5 there. Total sitting at 37.5. I'll take the under. I think Green Bay could win this game 17-10 or something like that. All right, Houston taking on Cleveland. I do think that the Browns win this game. I'll say that, but 3 points may be a lot to give this Houston team at home that, pretty much this game means a lot to them too in terms of playoff implications. Right now, the Browns, if they win, they're already pretty much looking like they're in the playoffs. But if the Browns win this game, they're in the playoffs. Houston, if they lose this game, they're pretty much not in the playoffs, right? So it's like you got two teams that are going to try here. 3 points may be too much, but again, like I think I do have to just side with the team that I believe in a little bit more, and it is the Browns. Now, it's kind of crazy to say that. Even Joe Flacco's a little bit banged up, so there's so many injuries on both sides. I think, CJ Stroud's doubtful still, so this game probably doesn't make its way into the final play whatsoever, because a lot of question marks here, but again, it could be too many points if you're getting it at 3. I could see Cleveland winning this game by like 1, to be completely honest. So, if you're going to roll with the Texans, I don't hate it, but I just have to look at the Browns here. They're the better team. This should, slam the door shut in terms of getting into the playoffs. So we'll lean in that direction. The total sitting at 40. I think this one stays right under that. I could see this being like a very close game, but 21-17 type of a game where it's very, very close to that, but just does not get over the mark. So I'll lean towards the under. All right, Tennessee taking on Seattle. Tennessee, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, mathematically eliminated at this point. Seattle obviously still kind of trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. They need a win here. They need to win bad, but there are obviously some injuries. Now, we saw Drew Lock kind of heroically play some good football down the stretch in that primetime game. So, give credit where it's due. I'll say that, but there's still some question marks here for this Seattle team. Obviously, the quarterbacks won. They have a decent, few linemen out. Their secondary's a little banged up. I think, between Brown and Witherspoon. It's not the easiest of games here. It might look like it, but there's a reason why this is a Seattle team that, from the outside looking in, is a much better team than Tennessee. But they're only 3.5 and actually 3 on some books favorites here because of how banged up they are. But I think that they build off of that win against the Eagles and win this game. So I'm going to lean towards Seattle in this spot. But just saying, guys, this is like the type of game that I feel like Tennessee could win if they just get the ball rolling, like when they can just give it to Derrick Henry or even Spears at this point. Like, this is the type of game when they can just get it rolling. But I think Will Levis has been downgraded to questionable from probable, so if he doesn't play, that's huge. Murphy Bunting's questionable with the hip. Like just like I talk about the injuries on the side of the Seattle team here, like Tennessee has just as many injuries, so I don't really think that this is a spot for them to definitely do that. But like I said, this is the type of game that they could just get the ball and ground and pound and bleed the clock, because I don't think Seattle's going to be able to really stop them if that happens. But if Seattle throws the first punch, then I like Seattle in this game. So I'll take them minus the 3 points. The total sitting at 41 right now. I'll lean towards the over because that kind of fits the game script here. If I like the Titans, I would be liking the under, but I like Seattle, and I think that they go out there and try and throw the first punch with some big explosive plays. All right, time to talk to you about the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer over at dgfantasy.com, guys. Link in the pinned comment. You get 25% off your first month with this as well. And if you have not used / seen this tool yet, you are seriously missing out. If you're on Prize Picks, Underdog, Parlay Play, Sleeper, Jock Market, any of these DFS pick'em apps, you need to be using this tool. Like, what it does is it compares all of these major sportsbooks lines to the lines that Prize Picks has, gives you a percent chance to hit as well as what they mathematically dictate are the odds. So why would you be putting, plus money plays in your Prize Pick slip when you could be putting minus 137, minus 135, minus 135, that type of thing into your Prize Pick slips? Again, Prize Picks doesn't care about odds, so why don't you use high odds plays and throw them in your Prize Pick slips? Obviously, sportsbooks have been around forever. They know what they're doing when they set these lines and they put these odds to these lines. Use that math against them and go capitalize, guys. Again, that link is in the pinned comment. You got to use code GUYBOSTON to get that 25% off. Make sure to do that, GUYBOSTON, all that information in the pinned comment. But shout out to Daily Grind, guys. One of the first brands that we worked with, starting last year. We've still been working with them. So go show your support for me by checking it out. But this is a money-making tool. I mean that, guys. Go ahead and check it out. You compare Odds Jam with Daily Grind. Whew, damn. I don't know if your pockets are going to be big enough. So go ahead and check it out. But let's get back to the slate here. We're looking at New York the New York Jets taking on the Commanders. I feel like I almost said the R word there. This game is like what do we want from it, right? Who's playing quarterback? Like, do they have a quarterback? Like, this is a messy, sloppy type of a game to me. New York at home. I don't think this game is going to really matter to either team as they're both eliminated from the playoffs. But what we see could be, I guess Howell kind of slinging it around like he always does. Maybe this game, nothing really jumps out at me, but I'll lean Washington because they're getting points, and I think they're a little bit more explosive, right? But both teams have tons of injuries, obviously. So who's playing quarterback for the Jets? We shall see. I think Zach Wilson is out already, got ruled out with his concussion. So we'll see, guys, but nothing major in this game, right? Total sitting at 37. I'll lean towards the over just because, like I said, fits the game script that I'm predicting here. Washington having a few explosive plays that can obviously change an over-under pretty quickly, but you can tell by how fast we're going through this, how much I don't have all the ins and outs of data here because don't really care that much about this game. All right, we have Minnesota taking on Detroit. Right now, Detroit going to be a playoff team, but I don't think that they let their foot off the gas in this type of a matchup. We've seen Minnesota sort of have their qualms and have their issues lately. The Josh Dobbs story goes and gets put to bed. You have obviously issues with Keenan, or I can't even remember the wow, his name is escaping right now. Vikings quarterback. You guys are probably looking at this like screaming at your screen. Why can't I remember his name? This is the stuff that you only get here. But in terms of what we're looking at here, in terms of Vikings versus Lions, that's crazy that I had a brain fart here. I'll probably think of it at some Nick Mullins. Boom. I was like, that just threw me for a loop there. I almost said Case Keenum. But nonetheless, Minnesota taking on Detroit. They just seem like they're kind of out of it, out of sync. Detroit with a big win last week against Denver. I don't see any reason why they can't go in there and do that again to a Vikings team that's 2-4 this year at home. And the Lions actually really good on the road, 5-2. Injuries obviously going to play a part here. And also, guys, think about these teams that are already in the playoffs and that type of thing. Like, we could be looking at some, I would say some, not resting, but guys taking it easy, teams not caring as much. But I don't think that that's going to be a case in sort of a game like this, a rivalry-ish game like this with Detroit and Minnesota. Minnesota obviously still could make the playoffs with a win, so it makes a little bit of sense. But I think this Detroit team is just a little bit better. No, a lot bit better. So I'm going to lean towards them -3. And in terms of a total here, high-scoring game. I like the over in this game a lot. Neither defense has been impressing me. I took this on H to H. I like the over in this spot a lot. All right, Tampa Bay taking on Jacksonville. This is a game in which I do like the over. We've seen Jacksonville's offense, other than, I guess you could say last week, look pretty good. And then Tampa Bay, like Baker Mayfield's playing well. We've talked about it before, like as the run game and pass game clicks, that Tampa Bay offense is pretty good. And both defenses have kind of taken, I would say, a step back here. So give me the over 40.5 in this spot. It's a really low number in my opinion. In terms of weather, I think we should be normal, right? Like fair weather. So give me the over. It's probably my favorite spot in this game. In terms of a lean on a side, Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay, there's some momentum building there. I do believe that there's some momentum building there. And I think that they obviously want to win here too. Both teams want to win late in the year, but they're at home. I think they have a little bit of an upper hand. But again, over is my main lean. Then I'm looking at Tampa Bay. Miami hosting Dallas. Interesting one here because this is a Miami team that, when they've had to play good teams, which they have 4 losses this year, when they've had to play good teams, they kind of fold, right? Like they catch the L's. The only bad loss, so what? Buffalo, Kansas City, Eagles, I could be wrong here, I think, and then the Titans. So it's like and the Titans was kind of a bad loss, but the other ones are like they play good teams, they kind of fold. They have one of the easiest schedules on the year so far. I think that Dallas bounces back from that loss against Buffalo. They got their pants pulled down, man. I think that they bounce back. Now, they're not as good on the road. They're only 3-4 this year on the road. Could Miami go and smoke them? Sure. I'm not trying to convince you to not take Miami. But, Tyreek Hill's banged up. Their secondary's banged up. Offensive line, this could be a Dallas spot, and they're getting a point. You might as well take a money line at that point for even odds, plus 100. Give me them. Now, in terms of a total, I think if Dallas wins this game, it has to go under because they obviously do have a good offense, but if Miami does their thing and scores 35 points, I don't know if Dallas necessarily can hang with them. So, obviously, before we even say that, like I said, keep an eye on the injury report. Tyreek Hill's a massive piece here. But Yeah, give me the slight lean towards the under, as well as liking Dallas here to win this game. But do I have the balls to pull the trigger? Not sure. Not sure. Chicago taking on Arizona. Literally couldn't care less about this matchup, but the Bears playing better football, are a better team. Give me the Bears here minus the points. Total sitting at 43. I'll lean towards the over just because I think it'll be a sloppy game in the sense of turnovers, good field position, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, nothing major in this game, obviously. And usually we have Sunday Night Football as its own video on the channel, but because we got the Christmas games and Monday night, like, we're going to have plenty of content here. And this is just like a dog crap type of a game. Denver taking on the Patriots. I'm a Patriots fan, and I'm in full belief that this team is just done. There's no juice. They don't care. Bill Belichick's tuned out. So give me Denver here minus the 7. Now, this is a Denver team that you can definitely make the argument that they've started to go into a little bit of a struggle, right? Like, this is a Denver team that was hot. They've lost 2 of their last 3. They got smoked by the Lions. Maybe the Patriots keep this game close, but I'm not willing to bet on it. So by default, I'm leaning towards Denver. And the total's up there, or down there, excuse me, at 34. And it makes sense why. Like, yes, the Patriots had, the one high-scoring game against the Steelers. But other than that, man, this has been a pitiful offense. But they've held their defense, the other opposing offenses, down a little bit, right? So I'll lean towards the under 34, even though that's such a low number. And guys, it's going to wrap for week number 16. We'll have some Monday Night Football, which is 3 games on Christmas coming out. I'm not sure if we're going to do a video for each of those. We're recording that, probably in an hour or so after this. Not sure how we're going to do that. We might just do like a Christmas Day football video because there'll be 3 games to cover. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, seriously appreciate the hell out of everyone that tunes in to all these videos. A lot of work goes into this. We're growing like crazy, trying to keep up with it. I want to get back to all the comments and all that. Obviously hard as we grow, but wouldn't change it for the world, guys. You guys are being absolutely crazy in terms of supporting and engaging. So yeah, appreciate the hell out of that. If you want to support extra, go to fademe.store, pick up some merch. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully we have another nice little winning week, and we'll see you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.